Haunted House Halloween. It was the 12th of June in 1995 when the old abandoned house on the outskirts of town began to stir. For years, the house had stood silent and dark, its windows boarded up and its walls crumbling. But on this particular night, something changed. The air seemed to thicken with an unnatural chill, and a sense of unease settled over the neighborhood like a thick fog. In the midst of this eerie atmosphere, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to explore the haunted house. They were drawn by the stories whispered among the townsfolk, tales of strange noises, and ghostly apparitions. Despite their nerves, they were determined to uncover the truth behind the legends. As they approached the house, the moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to dance and twist with a life of their own. The teenagers hesitated at the threshold, their hearts pounding in their chests, but their curiosity outweighed their fear, and they stepped inside. The interior of the house was as dark and foreboding as its exterior. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like veils of silk, and the floorboards creaked beneath their feet. The air was thick with dust and decay, and an unpleasant odor lingered in the stagnant air. They moved cautiously through the rooms, their footsteps echoing off the walls like whispers in the night. Each corner they turned held the promise of discovery, but also the threat of danger. It wasn't long before they began to hear the first whispers of something sinister lurking in the shadows. At first it was just a faint rustling, like the sound of paper being shuffled in the breeze. But as they delved deeper into the house, the noises grew louder and more distinct. They heard footsteps echoing down the hallway when no one was there, and doors slammed shut behind them with a force that seemed impossible. The teenagers tried to rationalize what they were experiencing, attributing the strange occurrences to the old age of the house and their overactive imaginations. But deep down, they knew that something was terribly wrong. As they reached the upper floors of the house, the atmosphere grew even more oppressive. The walls seemed to close in around them, and the shadows took on a life of their own, twisting and writhing like living beings. It was then that they stumbled upon a room unlike any they had seen before. The room was bathed in an eerie blue light, and strange symbols adorned the walls in patterns that seemed to pulse and shift before their very eyes. In the center of the room stood a large, ornate mirror, its surface reflecting their terrified faces back at them. As they approached the mirror, they felt a strange pull, like a magnet drawing them closer. They reached out to touch the glass, and as their fingers made contact, the world around them seemed to melt away. They found themselves standing in a place that was both familiar and yet utterly alien. The air crackled with electricity, and the ground beneath their feet felt strangely solid and yet insubstantial. It was then that they realized they had been transported to another realm, a realm where the rules of reality no longer applied. They stumbled through this surreal landscape, their minds reeling with fear and confusion. They encountered creatures that defied description, twisted monstrosities that seemed to materialize out of the very shadows themselves. They fought desperately to survive, clinging to each other for support as they navigated this nightmarish hellscape. But no matter how hard they tried, they could not escape the clutches of the haunted house. It seemed to have a malevolent will of its own, bending reality to its whim and ensnaring all who dared to enter its domain. In the end, only one of the teenagers managed to escape the house alive, the sole survivor of a nightmarish ordeal that would haunt them for the rest of their days. They would never forget the horrors they had witnessed within those cursed walls, nor the chilling realization that some nightmares are all too real. And as the years passed, the legend of the haunted house would only grow, a cautionary tale whispered among the townsfolk to keep them far away from its accursed halls. For more scary odd horror stories, please subscribe us.